Desperate arrival, the emergency beacon cut through space like a scream in the dark. Captain Alina Rodriguez was finishing her third cup of coffee when the distress signal reached Harmony Station, Earth's largest orbital repair facility. She nearly dropped her mug when the translation came through. "This is Admiral Desis of the Zephyrian Imperial Fleet. We require immediate assistance. Our ships are dying." Alina had never heard of Zephyrians before, but the desperation in that alien voice was universal. She rushed to the main observation deck, where her chief engineer, Marcus Chen, was already pointing at the incoming formation. "Captain, you need to see this," Marcus whispered, his voice filled with awe, through the reinforced viewing port. Alina watched 7 massive ships limping toward their station. Each vessel was easily 3 times the size of Earth's largest battlecruiser, their hulls gleaming with an otherworldly silver-blue metal that seemed to shift and flow like liquid mercury. But these magnificent ships were clearly in trouble. Gaping holes punctured their sides, revealing twisted metal and sparking systems. Within, dark scorch marks painted their surfaces like wounds, and several ships trailed debris clouds behind them. "My God," Alina breathed. "What happened to them?" The lead ship was the most damaged. Its entire forward section looked like it had been chewed apart by some cosmic beast. As it drew closer, Alina could see smaller craft swarming around the wounded, giants, clearly trying to keep them operational. The ships moved with the careful, painful precision of creatures nursing mortal wounds. "Incoming transmission, Captain," Communications Officer Sarah Park announced from her station. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing the alien commander. Admiral Vissus was tall and elegant, with pale blue skin that seemed to contain tiny points of light, like stars trapped beneath the surface. His eyes were large and golden, filled with a mixture of pride and barely contained desperation. He wore a uniform that appeared to be made of the same flowing metal as his ships. "Captain Rodriguez, Admiral Desis," began, his voice carrying a strange, musical quality. "I am Admiral Desis of the Zephyrian Third Fleet. We have traveled far to reach your ... facility." His pause before the word facility carried just enough hesitation to suggest he was being diplomatic about Harmony Station's appearance. Alina straightened in her command chair. Harmony Station wasn't much to look at compared to those alien vessels, built from converted cargo modules and mining platforms. It resembled a metallic spider web stretched across space. But it was functional, and more importantly, it was home to the most skilled repair crews in the Sol system. "What can we do for you, Admiral?" Alina asked. Tice's expression grew grave. "We were engaged in battle with an enemy we call the They are a mechanical species that consumes entire star systems, leaving nothing but empty space in their wake. Our fleet was tasked with delaying their advance while our homeworld evacuated." The hologram shifted to show battle footage. Alina watched in horror as massive, insectoid machines the size of small moons tore through space, their appendages ripping apart planets and feeding the matter into glowing maws. The Zephyrian ships fought bravely, their weapons creating beautiful streams of coherent light that carved through the enemy formation. But for every devourer destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. "We managed to damage their main hive ship," this is continued, "but at terrible cost. 7 ships remain from our original fleet of 23. Our crews are exhausted, our weapons depleted, and our propulsion systems are failing. We detected your repair station and hoped." "Say no more," Alina interrupted, standing up. "Docking Bay 7 is our largest. We'll guide you in." Tice's golden eyes widened slightly. you would help us. You do not even know us. We could be hostile. Alina smiled. Admiral, in my experience, people asking for help usually aren't planning to attack. Besides, anyone fighting monsters like those devourers is a friend in my book. The docking process took 3 hours. The Zephyrian ships were so large that only the lead vessel, Admiral Tice's flagship Stellar Harmony, could actually dock with the station. The other ships anchored themselves to the station's superstructure using magnetic grapples and extending docking tubes. Alina met Admiral Desis at the airlock, accompanied by Marcus and a team of her best engineers. The moment the Zephyrian stepped aboard Harmony Station, Alina could see him trying to hide his disappointment. The station's corridors were functional but cramped, with exposed pipes and conduits running along the walls. Everything had the lived-in, jury-rigged appearance of a facility built by people who prioritized function over form. "Welcome to Harmony Station," Alina said warmly. "It's not much to look at, but we get the job done." Desis nodded politely. "I am grateful for any assistance you can provide, Captain. However, I should warn you that our technology may be beyond your current capabilities." Marcus stepped forward, his eyes bright with curiosity. "Try us, Admiral. We've worked on everything, from asteroid miners to luxury yachts. What kind of propulsion system do your ships use?" "Crystalline resonance matrices," Desis replied. "Each ship contains a core of living crystal that channels energy through harmonic frequencies. The battle damaged our primary resonance chambers, and without proper attunement, the crystals are dying." Alina watched Marcus's face carefully. Her chief engineer had a habit of looking overwhelmed when presented with technology he didn't understand. But instead, she saw his expression shift to one of intense interest. "Living crystal," Marcus murmured. "That's fascinating. Can you show us?" Admiral Desis led them through the docking tube into his flagship. The interior of the Zephyrian ship was breathtaking. The corridors were wide and curved, with walls that seemed to glow with their own inner light. Everything was smooth and organic, as if the ship had been grown rather than built. The crew they passed were all tall and elegant like Desis, moving with graceful efficiency despite their obvious exhaustion. They reached the ship's core chamber, and Alina gasped. In the center of a vast spherical room hung a crystal the size of a small building. It should have been beautiful, pulsing with rainbow light, but instead it flickered weakly like a dying candle. Cracks ran through its surface, and several smaller crystals that orbited around it had gone completely dark, without the resonance chambers to properly channel the energy. Desis explained, "The core crystal is slowly burning itself out. Once it dies, the ship becomes nothing more than a tomb." Marcus walked closer to the crystal, pulling out a handheld scanner. "Captain, I'm reading massive electromagnetic fluctuations, but there's something else. The crystal is generating sound waves, but they're chaotic, like ... double quotes." He paused, thinking. "Like an orchestra where all the musicians are playing different songs." "An apt comparison," Desis said with surprise. "The crystals must be perfectly synchronized. To function, each resonance chamber acts like a tuning fork, ensuring all the crystals sing in harmony." "What if we can't fix the resonance chambers?" Alina asked. Tice's shoulders sagged. "Then my crew will die with their ships, as is our way." "That's not happening on my watch," Alina said firmly. "Marcus, what do you think?" Marcus was quiet for a long moment, studying the dying crystal. Then, slowly, a smile spread across his face. "Admiral, you said the crystals need to be synchronized, right?" that they need to sing in harmony. Yes, but without the resonance chambers. What if we don't need the resonance chambers? Marcus interrupted, his excitement growing. What if we can synchronize them another way? Alina knew that look. Marcus had an idea, probably a crazy one. What are you thinking, Captain? Remember the Johnson wedding last month, when the station's environmental systems started harmonizing with the music, and we had to recalibrate everything? Alina nodded. The station's life support systems had somehow synchronized with the wedding band's music, creating a feedback loop that made the entire station hum like a tuning fork. It had taken hours to fix. What if that wasn't a bug? Marcus continued. What if it was a feature we never knew we had? Admiral, our station generates dozens of different frequencies. Power systems, artificial gravity, life support, communications arrays. What if we could tune those frequencies to match your crystals? This stared at Marcus as if he'd suggested using a hammer to perform surgery. You want to use your station's systems as resonance chambers, but they're so ... primitive. Maybe, Marcus said with a grin, but sometimes primitive solutions work better than complex ones. Captain, we need to get back to the station. I have work to do. The next 12 hours were controlled chaos. Marcus and his engineering team swarmed through Harmony stations, systems, fine-tuning every piece of equipment that generated a frequency. Meanwhile, Alina coordinated with the Zephyrian crews to synchronize their efforts. The aliens watched human engineering with a mixture of fascination and horror. Where Zephyrian technology was elegant and integrated, human systems were modular and redundant. A single Zephyrian component might serve multiple functions with perfect efficiency, while humans used 3 separate systems to accomplish the same task, each system capable of backing up the others if something failed. Your approach is so chaotic, observed Sub-Commander Vex Tice's second-in-command, as she watched a human engineer use a plasma torch to modify a power coupling while standing on a ladder held steady by 2 other engineers. Chaos is just order we haven't figured out yet, replied Chief Petty Officer Rodriguez, Elena's cousin and the station's best mechanic. Besides, sometimes you need chaos to fix chaos. Alina found Admiral Veses in the station's observation lounge, staring out at his damaged fleet. She approached carefully, carrying 2 cups of coffee. Thought you might want to try some Earth coffee, she offered. The sis accepted the cup gracefully. Thank you. I have been wondering, Captain, why are you helping us? You gain nothing from this, and if the Devourers track us here, ... double quotes. Alina sat down beside him. Admiral, 20 years ago, my ship was caught in a solar storm near Jupiter. Our engines failed, and we were drifting toward the planet's gravity well. A Martian freight hauler picked up our distress call and spent 8 hours in dangerous radiation to pull us out. When I asked the captain why he risked his ship and crew for strangers, he said something I have never forgotten. What did he say? Space is big and dark and cold, and all of us who live out here are just tiny lights trying not to get snuffed out. When you see another light flickering, you don't ask what color it is or where it came from. You just help. Keep it burning. Dissis was quiet for a long moment. Your species is ... unexpected. We get that a lot, Alina said with a smile. Their conversation was interrupted by Marcus's voice over the intercom. Captain, we're ready to attempt synchronization. Admiral Dices, we need you in the core chamber. They rushed back to the Zephyrian flagship, where Marcus had set up a complex array of human equipment around the dying crystal. Cables and conduits snaked through the chamber, connecting to interfaces that looked like they'd been cobbled together from spare parts. "Okay," Marcus announced, his hands flying over multiple control panels. "I've managed to sync our station's primary systems to generate complementary frequencies. If this works, the station itself should act like a giant resonance chamber. And if it doesn't work," Thesis asked. Marcus grinned. "Then we'll try something else. Ready, Captain?" Alina nodded and opened a channel to the station's command center. "All stations, this is the Captain. Initiating frequency synchronization in 3.2.1. now." The effect was immediate and spectacular. The station's hum, usually barely noticeable, rose to an audible thrum that seemed to vibrate through the deck plates. The Zephyrian crystal responded instantly, its weak flicker strengthening to a steady pulse. But something was wrong. The light was chaotic, flickering between colors as the crystal struggled to find its proper resonance. "It's not working," Thesis said, his voice heavy with disappointment. "The frequencies are too crude, too unrefined." But Marcus wasn't giving up. "Wait, Admiral, you said the crystals need to sing in harmony, right? What if they need a conductor?" "What do you mean?" Instead of answering, Marcus pulled out his personal tablet and activated the station-wide communication system. "All hands, this is Chief Engineer Chen. I need everyone to help with something that's going to sound absolutely insane." Alina watched in amazement as Marcus began to hum, a low, steady note that somehow seemed to complement the station's mechanical symphony. His voice carried through the ship's speakers, and slowly, other voices joined in. First the human crew, then, to everyone's surprise, the Zephyrian crew members began adding their own voices to the strange chorus. The crystal's response was immediate. The chaotic flashing steadied, and the light began to pulse in rhythm with the combined voices. The smaller crystals around the core began to glow, their own light synchronizing with the main crystal's rhythm. "It's working," Thesis whispered, his golden eyes wide with wonder. Across the fleet, the other damaged ships began to come alive. Their hull lights flickered on, and Alina could see through the observation ports that their core crystals were responding to the same harmonious frequency generated by the station and its combined crews. "How is this possible?" Subcommander Vex asked, staring at the glowing crystal. Marcus wiped sweat from his forehead, grinning broadly. "Music is just mathematics made beautiful. Your crystals needed perfect mathematical harmony to function. We just gave them what they needed, using the most universal instruments we have." "Universal instruments?" Thesis asked. "Our voices," Alina said softly. "Our voices and our refusal to give up on a friend in need." The repair process continued for another 6 hours. With the crystals stabilized, the human and Zephyrian crews worked together to patch hull breaches and restore weapon systems. Alina marveled at how quickly the two species learned to work together. Language barriers dissolved as gestures and shared purpose took over. A human welder would point to a damaged section, and a Zephyrian engineer would nod and hand over the appropriate tool without a word being spoken. But their efforts were interrupted by an urgent alarm from the station's long-range sensors. "Captain," Sarah Park's voice crackled over the intercom, "you need to get to the command center right now. We've got incoming contacts, and they're big." Alina and Thesis rushed to the command center, where the main display showed a tactical overview of the approaching fleet. Elena's blood ran cold as she counted the contacts. 15 ships, she reported. Massive energy signatures, and they're coming in fast. Dices studied the display, his face growing pale. Devourers, they followed our trail. The Devourer fleet was unlike anything Alina had ever seen. Each ship was a writhing mass of mechanical tentacles and grinding machinery, more like a mechanical sea creature than a spacecraft. They moved with predatory grace through space, their hulls bristling with weapons that glowed with malevolent energy. "Can your ships fight?" Alina asked. 7 ships against 15. Dices shook his head. Even at full strength, those odds would be challenging with our current damage. ... Then we run. The Devourers are faster than us, especially with our damaged engines. If we flee, they will simply hunt us down and destroy us piecemeal. Alina stared at the tactical display, her mind racing. 15 Devourer ships against 7 damaged Sephorian vessels and 1 civilian repair station. It should have been hopeless. Should have been. The Standalena Rodriguez had faced impossible odds before, but never quite like this. As the Devourer fleet approached, she made a decision that would have sounded insane to any rational military strategist. "We're not running," she announced to the combined human and Zephyrian command staff gathered in Harmony Station's war room. "We're making our stand here." Admiral Vesus leaned forward, his golden eyes filled with concern. "Captain, I appreciate your courage, but you don't understand what we're facing. The Devourers have consumed entire star systems. They turn planets into raw materials and civilizations into spare parts for their war machine. Then it's time someone taught them that some things don't break so easily." Alina replied, her voice steady despite the fear churning in her stomach. "Marcus, what's our inventory?" Chief Engineer Marcus Chen pulled up the station's manifest. On his tablet, "We've got 47 civilian vessels currently docked or anchored, mostly freight haulers, mining ships, and personal craft. None of them are military grade, but they all move, right?" "Well, yes, but Captain, and we've got the industrial fabricators, the mining equipment, and about 3,000 tons of raw materials in storage." Marcus nodded slowly, beginning to see where his captain's thoughts were heading. Alina turned to address the room. "Ladies, gentlemen, and honored guests, we're about to attempt something that's never been done before. We're going to turn a civilian repair station into a fortress, and we're going to do it in the next 6 hours. Sub-Commander Vex, Admiral Tice's second in command, spoke up. "Captain Rodriguez, with all respect, your civilian vessels cannot stand against Devour battleships. They will be destroyed in moments." "Not if they don't fight like battleships," Alina said with a grim smile. "Admiral, you've been fighting the Devourers using conventional tactics, right? Fleet formations, direct engagement, trying to match their firepower. Of course, that is how space battles are fought. Maybe that's the problem. Marcus, remember the asteroid belt pirates 3 years ago?" Marcus's eyes lit up with understanding. "The ones who tried to raid the mining convoy. We didn't have any military ships, but we stopped them anyway." "Exactly. We used mining charges, cargo containers, and a whole lot of creative thinking." Alina activated the station's holographic display, showing the approaching Devourer fleet. "The Devourers expect us to fight like a proper military force. Instead, we're going to fight like engineers, miners, and freight jockeys with a really bad attitude." Over the next few hours, Harmony Station transformed into something unprecedented. In galactic warfare, human crews swarmed over every available vessel, jury-rigging systems and installing improvised weapons with the kind of creative desperation that only came from facing annihilation. The freight hauler, Lucky Strike, became a kinetic weapon platform. its cargo bay filled with containers packed with mining explosives and equipped with simple guidance systems. Captain Torres, the ship's owner, supervised the modifications with the enthusiasm of someone who had always wanted to see what would happen if you turned a cargo ship into a missile. "This is either brilliant or completely insane," Torres muttered, as his crew installed the final detonator. "Why not both?" replied the human engineer, helping with the wiring. Meanwhile, the mining vessel Deep Digger was being converted into something even more unusual. Its industrial drilling laser, designed to cut through asteroids, was being recalibrated as a weapon. The modifications were crude but effective, turning a tool meant for construction into an instrument of destruction. The most ambitious project was the conversion of 3 small personal craft into what Marcus cheerfully called suicide drones. Stripped of everything non-essential and loaded with every explosive the station could spare, they would be remotely piloted into the heart of the Devourer formation. Admiral Dices watched these preparations with growing amazement and horror. "Your people are remarkable," he told Alina, as they observed a human crew using welding torches to attach mining equipment to the outside of a luxury yacht. "And completely mad." "Sometimes those are the same thing," Alina replied. "How are your ships doing?" "Better than expected. Your station's harmonic resonance is keeping our crystals stable, and my crews have been working with your engineers to integrate some of your creative solutions into our systems." Alina nodded. The integration had been fascinating to watch. Zephyrian elegance combined with human ingenuity had produced some truly unique results. Precision energy weapons now sported crude but effective human targeting systems. Graceful Zephyrian hull designs were augmented with makeshift armor plating, welded on by human engineers who believed that if some armor was good, more armor was better. "Captain," Sarah Park's voice came over the intercom. "The Devourers are dropping out of hyperspace. ETA 2 weapons range, 30 minutes. Alina activated the station-wide communication system. "All hands, this is Captain Rodriguez. In 30 minutes, we're going to face an enemy that has destroyed entire civilizations. They expect us to be afraid. They expect us to run. They expect us to fight by their rules." She paused, looking around at the mixture of human and Zephyrian faces in the command center. "They're about to learn that humans don't follow anyone's rules but our own. And today, our Zephyrian friends are honorary humans. All stations, prepare for engagement." The Devourer fleet emerged from hyperspace like a swarm of mechanical nightmares. Each ship was a writhing mass of articulated limbs and grinding machinery, their hulls studded with weapons that pulsed with predatory energy. They moved in perfect synchronization, like components of a vast, malevolent machine. 15 ships. Confirmed, Sarah reported. "Energy signatures are off the charts." "Captain, they're hailing us. Put it through." The communication that came through wasn't exactly a voice. It was more like the sound of machinery grinding, overlaid with harmonics that somehow conveyed meaning directly to the brain. When the translation software finally processed it, the message was simple and chilling. "Surrender your vessels. Your technology will be integrated. Your biological matter will be processed. Resistance is inefficient." Alina keyed the response channel. "This is Captain Alina Rodriguez of Harmony Station. Here's our counteroffer. Go to hell." The response was immediate. The lead Devourer ship opened fire, sending a stream of coherent energy toward the station. But instead of striking their target, the beam hit empty space where a projection had been. Harmony Station had moved, using its maneuvering thrusters to shift position just enough to avoid the attack. "Now that's what I call opening negotiations," Alina said with grim satisfaction. "Marcus, initiate the Chaos Protocol." What followed was unlike any space battle in recorded history. Instead of orderly fleet formations exchanging fire at respectful distances, Harmony Station erupted into a swarm of individually piloted chaos. 47 civilian vessels, each one jury-rigged and improvised beyond recognition, scattered in all directions like angry hornets from a disturbed nest. The freight hauler Lucky Strike accelerated directly toward the Devourer formation, its cargo bay doors opening to release a stream of explosive-laden containers. Captain Torres had programmed them to detonate in sequence, creating a minefield that the Devourers had to navigate around. The mining ship, Deep Digger, used its industrial laser to carve through the hull of a Devourer vessel, the crude weapon, proving surprisingly effective against armor designed to resist elegant energy beams, but not prepared for the raw, unfocused power of an industrial cutting tool. Most effective of all were the 3 converted suicide drones. Their pilots, safely aboard the station, guided them through the Devourer formation using nothing more than visual cameras and determination. The first drone slammed into a Devourer's sensor array, temporarily blinding the massive ship. The second detonated against a weapon cluster, sending mechanical debris spinning through space. The third, in a stroke of tactical genius, crashed into the junction between 2 Devourer ships that had been moving in formation, damaging both. But it was the Zephyrian ships that provided the real surprise. No longer fighting with the elegant, predictable tactics of their military tradition, they had adopted human-style asymmetric warfare. Admiral Tice's flagship Stellar Harmony used its superior maneuverability to dart between Devourer ships, firing not at their heavily armed fronts, but at their less protected rear sections. Admiral Alina called over the tactical channel, "How are you enjoying human-style warfare?" Tice's response came back filled with something that sounded suspiciously like laughter. "Captain, your people are insane, and I am beginning to understand why that is such an advantage." The battle raged for 2 hours. The humans lost ships, but not the way the Devourers expected. When the Lucky Strike finally took critical damage, Captain Torres didn't retreat. Instead, he rammed his crippled freighter directly into a engine section, the explosion taking out both ships. When the Deep Digger's laser finally overheated and failed, her crew didn't surrender. They turned their ship into a kinetic weapon, using their mining charges to detonate their own vessel in the middle of the Devourer formation. Each human ship that was destroyed took at least 1 Devourer with it, and often damaged several others. The mechanical precision of the Devourer fleet began to falter as their formation was disrupted by increasingly unpredictable human tactics. The turning point came when Marcus had what he later described as either his best idea or his worst idea, depending on how you looked at it. "Captain," he called from his engineering station, "I'm reading massive energy fluctuations from the Devourer command ship. I think their central processor is trying to compensate for our chaotic tactics by increasing computational power. What are you thinking? What if we give their computer something really complicated to think about?" Before Alina could ask what he meant, Marcus activated a complex program he'd been working on throughout the battle. Suddenly, every human vessel began broadcasting on every frequency simultaneously. Not just communication signals, but everything. Music, poetry, historical databases, cooking shows, engineering manuals, children's bedtime stories, and complete recordings of every movie ever made on Earth. The effect on the Devourer fleet was immediate and dramatic. Their precisely coordinated movements became erratic as their collective intelligence tried to process and categorize the massive information dump. Some ships slowed as their processors became overwhelmed. Others began firing randomly as their targeting systems struggled to differentiate between the flood of signals. Their command ship is overloading, Admiral Vises reported with excitement. Their central processor can't handle the chaotic data input. Alina watched as the massive Devourer command vessel began to drift, its movements becoming sluggish and uncoordinated. The other Devourer ships, suddenly cut off from their central coordination, began to operate independently and independent. Devourers, it turned out, were much less effective than coordinated ones. All vessels, Alina broadcast, target the confused ones first. They're operating without central coordination now. The combined human and Zephyrian fleet fell upon the disorganized Devourers with renewed vigor. What had been a desperate last stand became a rout as the mechanical ships, no longer able to coordinate their attacks, fell one by one to the chaotic but determined defenders. When the last Devourer ship exploded in a brilliant flash of released energy, the unlikely alliance of humans and Zephyrians found themselves staring at a debris field that had once been an unstoppable armada. Status report, Alina called, her voice hoarse from hours of shouting orders. 15 Devourer ships destroyed, Sarah reported. We lost 23 civilian vessels, but we have survivors from most of them. The Zephyrian fleet is damaged but intact. Alina slumped in her command chair, the adrenaline finally wearing off. Around her, the command center erupted in cheers as humans and Zephyrians celebrated together. Admiral Vises approached her, his elegant features showing a mixture of exhaustion and something that might have been awe. Captain Rodriguez, what your people accomplished today, ... It should have been impossible. Impossible is just another word for something nobody's tried yet, Alina replied with a tired smile. Besides, we didn't do it alone. Your people adapted to our chaos better than I ever expected. You taught us something today, Vises said solemnly. We have spent centuries perfecting the art of war, making it elegant and precise. But you showed us that sometimes victory comes not through perfection, but through the refusal to accept defeat. Over the following days, as repairs continued and the dead were honored, the unlikely partnership between humans and Zephyrians deepened. The Zephyrians shared their advanced technology, while humans taught them the art of creative problem-solving and the value of controlled chaos. Marcus found himself working closely with Zephyrian engineers, showing them how human redundancy and modular design could make their elegant systems more resilient. Beauty is important, he explained to a fascinated Zephyrian tech specialist, but sometimes ugly solutions are the ones that keep working when everything goes wrong. Meanwhile, human crews learned from Zephyrian precision and efficiency. The integration of the two approaches produced innovations that neither species could have achieved alone. But perhaps the most important development was the friendship that grew between the two species. Alina watched human and Zephyrian crew members working together, sharing meals and swapping stories about their homeworlds. Language barriers dissolved as universal gestures and shared laughter took over. You know, Admiral Vises said to Alina as they watched the mixed crews working together. When we first arrived, I thought we were seeking help from primitives. I was wrong. We weren't seeking help from primitives. We were seeking help from humans, and I am beginning to understand that there is a significant difference. Alina smiled. What difference is that, Admiral? Primitives give up when faced with the impossible. humans just get creative. As the Zephyrian fleet prepared to depart, their ships now fully repaired and upgraded with human innovations, Admiral Vices made an announcement that would change the course of galactic history. The Zephyrian Empire formally requests an alliance with Earth, he declared, not as superior beings offering protection to primitives, but as equals joining together to face the challenges of the galaxy. Alina accepted on behalf of humanity, knowing that this moment marked the beginning of something unprecedented. Two species, one elegant and precise, the other chaotic and creative, had found in each other the missing pieces they never knew they needed. The Devourers had come to destroy another civilization, but instead, they had witnessed the birth of something new, a partnership between species that proved the whole could indeed be greater than the sum of its parts. As the Zephyrian fleet departed for their homeworld, carrying with them tales of human ingenuity and courage, Alina stood on Harmony Station's observation deck, watching them go. Beside her, Marcus was already sketching plans for new ship designs that combined Zephyrian elegance with human practicality. "Think they'll be back?" Marcus asked. Alina smiled, thinking of the friendships forged in battle and the technologies shared in trust. "I'm counting on it. After all, the galaxy is big and dark and cold, and all of us who live out here are just tiny lights trying not to get snuffed out. And when you see another light flickering," Marcus prompted, recognizing the quote, "you don't ask what color it is or where it came from," Alina finished. "You just help keep it burning." In the distance, the Zephyrian ships activated their hyperdrives, their crystalline cores singing in perfect harmony with the improvised resonance chambers that human ingenuity had created.